Let's hear it.
Easy. Get two cars driving side by side and pass a can to the other person.
Okay.
As long as you match relative speed, you shouldn't have a problem.
But that's what I'm saying. It's, going 50 miles an hour in a car on a street that's already lined out for you is a little bit different than, seeing an invisible street that you're using. Then going through you're going through a different, like a wind zone every time. It's a unique wind you're going through.
This
and then you have
is
to just
what we mean
wind,
that you guys don't understand an analogy.
Yeah, I don't understand. You're
What
right.
do you want about going
I
through
agreed with
wind?
his analogy, but I don't understand it. Okay.
Why are you saying going through wind?
Well, every rocket leaves off the ground and goes through the wind, doesn't it?
Oh, is that...
And we all talk about how whatever the wind is doing, that's gonna push your craft. It's gonna not instantly. We had to argue about that for an hour, but it's gonna eventually. Your craft is gonna. The wind's going 200 miles an hour.
That's not how they constructed the ISS, mate. Like,
wow! Thanks for listening.
I know, but they had to launch.
Right. They would have to go through wind because they sure as hell can't.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with the construction?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Thanks for getting the point there, buddy.
No, what does that have to do with matching the speed to make the construction? Once you're out of the atmosphere,
I'm pointing out that you have to do it after. Yes, I said that. Like you're trying to ignore what I said and then repeat it after you're out of the wind. They have to adjust after they're out of the wind.
Was I finished?
I said it already. Appreciate it.
I was talking about them being able to match the pieces together. It's the same as you passing a can to someone from one car to another doing 60 mile an hour.
And
you
we've
match
all
the
agreed
speed.
with you.
Yeah.
We've all agreed.
So why are you
pointed
bringing
out
up
the
the
differences
launch?
and the dynamics of the different situation? Like there's different fucking wind every time. You have to adjust after. The road that you're going down to match this car is invisible. You have to use other stuff to find your quote unquote road. There's other things going on, buddy. I'm adding on to what you said after I agreed with it.
You're not realizing what was said.
No, they don't launch the rocket and have it end up in space, just somewhere, a few feet behind the ISS. It doesn't work like that.
Okay, I'm sure.
Damn right it doesn't work like
They'll
that.
creep up to it.
Because it never even happened.
Hang on.
I'd imagine they creep up to it.
They're not targeting the ISS when they launch. They're just trying to get in that orbit, right? But it depends where they launch from. When they launch from the USA, it takes them, I don't know, hours to get. It's like a day and a half or something, I think, to get.
Yeah, it was like 14 hours for the last crew that went up to the ISS.
Yeah. And but with
there's a lower orbit, then they take the orbit a little bit higher, and
if they launch from the Soviet Union, they get from Russia, they get I think they do it in about 3 hours or something. Because the orbit was chosen for that reason, for easy launches from Russia.
Jem said Soviet Union. He's mad old.
I know. It shows how old
From Russia, you said, Jim.
I know. Originally, I said Soviet Union, didn't I? Because that's been.
It's a false equivalency fallacy. Get him, Jeremy.
Fallacy. You guys hit me with 100 You know how many fallacies per hour? I don't measure my time I spend in here in minutes anymore.
Fallacies.
I measure it in fallacies per hour.
You guys are calling us nuts for not believing in such an outrageous statement with flying up there, 15,000 miles per hour. The values to get up there are in question, and you guys are just simply buying it hook, line, and sinker as if, it's no problem. Of course they can do it.
How are they in question?
Oh, goodness.
In your mind, they're in question. In my world,
no.
They're known.
Even in your mind,
values.
it's just you're kind of here doing some kind of psyop. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, people who are in the field.
I get
paid
per hour for being here.
Other adults should definitely take that idea seriously. That we're here doing a psyop.
Yeah, that's like walking up to a doctor and telling him
That's
you're not
right.
really doing surgery. You're not really, operating on a heart. You just think you are.
You don't feel one. You don't feel, Whammer, when you say something like that.
Wait,
other people might think that you're completely mental.
What? That psyops
say-
exist?
Yeah, when you say.
Are you saying psyops don't exist?
No.
Oh, then what are you saying?
God, you guys, you're such liars, aren't you?
Oh, am I lying
don't
now?
stereotype
that
stereotype fallacy.
this server, us, the people here, are a psyop. Not that psyops don't exist. Didn't say that or anything even remotely close to that. Amazing how often I have to use that phrase, isn't it?
You
What,
just
liar?
said about nothing, but okay.
Well,
But
you
this
know,
is the
Jim,
thing.
if both words appear in the same sentence, then obviously all the other words in the middle don't matter.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, how come you're not all on the same medication as me if it's a psyop?
I think, I don't know. I just think that I don't know why he
brainwave,
isn't
man.
embarrassed to say that. Why he doesn't just have the thought himself and not.
There's nothing embarrassing about it.
They have no shame.
Well, there is because it's idiotic.
Wait, when we say
Makes you look
psyop,
like
we're
an
talking
idiot.
about a
Makes you look like an
psychological
idiot for
operation.
saying it.
Yes, and that's why I made the statement. Why isn't everybody else in here on the same medication as me? Because if it's a psychological operation, we'd all be on the same
Well, look,
fucking
they
meds.
don't all smoke crack if that's what you want them to do, okay?
How did you go from medication to crack?
Because it appears that's what you're on.
All right, what psyop would have my microphone work as crappy as my microphone?
Wait, say that again? I couldn't hear you.
Exactly. See,
I mean,
it's
what
a
did you
terrible
say?
psychological operation.
He said,
He
what?
asked you, why is this mic crappy?
He said, what psychological?
Oh, I
what
don't know, you know, it's
psychological
just-
operation
hold on.
would have?
Hold on.
Oh,
It's just as bad as the moon landings. It looks like they had a small budget they were working on. I
This
mean,
is
you
an
get into
example
some of
of
these
you being
videos that you guys
frightened
love
to
posting,
hear.
like what a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. I mean, just watch it. I mean, you're saying watch all your
Hang
videos.
on,
Watch that
you're
video.
talking to the guy.
Pretty cheap stuff.
Again, you see, we see the standard conspiratard tactic.
And damn right,
okay.
it's a conspiracy. You know why? Because
Immediately-
most conspiracies come
Why
true.
you- just let me respond.
Oh shit, I wasn't done.
Immediate. Oh, I thought you had. You had completely
Go
stopped
ahead,
talking
for
for
crying
several
out loud.
seconds. So that's
They-
usually an indication that someone's done.
Jem,
What they
go
need,
ahead.
what they need to do is debunk American Moon, not the what you saw. What funny thing happened?
Actually, we
Go
need
ahead.
to debunk Jeremy's glass
Je-
eye.
Jem's whole debunking Moon thing is obsolete at this point.
It's not, but it's interesting that Whammer assumes that he's got the lowdown on this because he's watched a funny thing happened on the way to the moon, and there's no way any of us could have, and we need to now go and watch it. You could,
No, I'd rather.
well, hang on. You could you could go and watch the debunk of it on my channel, Whammer, where I go through every single claim it makes and explain how it's a pack of lies. Do you want to watch? Shall I send you the link?
Of
And
you
then we're-
debunking it?
Yes.
Hold
I
on.
was
and
about to say that, Jem. That
Hold
you did
on.
what, 9 hours debunking
Actually,
that?
That would
No,
be
it's
quite
not.
entertaining. Yeah, send me
No,
the link.
It's about an hour
It's
and
now
a half.
obsolete. I wouldn't even bother. You got the American Moon debunks Jem's whole thing, so
It
I wouldn't
doesn't.
even
It
bother.
doesn't debunk anything in mine.
It debunks
How
your
could
whole,
it?
the whole thing.
No, it doesn't.
Practically.
Doesn't
Hard-
it?
At all. It makes
big
the
part
same
of
retarded claims, most of them, that are made in a funny thing happened on the way to the moon.
No, it
There's
makes-
no dust on the landing pads. The flag
more-
moved.
Yeah, the flag moved. You guys said, "Oh no, look, the flag didn't move. It moved because after the guy touched it or some nonsense, and then the flag moves even when no
Actually,
one touches
Jem
it."
didn't say the
Jesus
flag didn't move.
Christ.
I didn't say
Jeez.
it didn't move.
What?
I
Yeah,
said
that's
when
what
you
I
say-
find
when
funny.
it does move. When it does move,
Jeremy?
you say it's because somebody just touched it or something.
Could
Yeah,
be,
but what-
could be some sort of earthquake. Could have been
moonquake?
one of the examples. Yeah, this moonquakes. One
Yeah.
of them could have been a decompression happening from the lunar module, which would have sent like a cloud of gas
Yeah.
as it decompressed. So there's a number of things that it could be.
Also,
But the big problem for you is there are many, many, many instances of astronauts walking close to the flag where it doesn't move, and that can't happen. The thing that the little bits of movement that we've seen, they can happen, and there can be explanations for them. But there's no explanation for how you would have astronauts in big suits moving very close to these flags and it not moving a jot if it was filmed in an atmosphere.
You can move close to a flag where it won't move, Jem. Come on.
Jim,
Actually,
come
go
on,
in one of your
buddy.
classrooms
Don't
and walk
accept
by
that.
it.
What are you
Walk-
smoking?
Hold on. Go
The
to
astronaut
your.
tripping. You can totally tell he's being like lifted.
Hey,
Did Davros give
Jeremy.
Jem? Did
Jeremy,
Davros
Jeremy,
give?
stop.
Hold on.
Jeremy,
Did
you're in the
Davros give
school.
you that argument, Jem? Did you get that
Jeremy,
from Davros?
Jeremy,
you're in the school, right?
you're a fallacy.
Walk past the flag in the school and tell me it doesn't move at all.
I did a genetic fallacy. I'm sorry. What'd you say,
I
Moya?
said walk past the flag in your school and see if it doesn't move at all.
Okay, I'll do it
But the
later
thing
though. 'Cause
is,
I'm
Jeremy,
cleaning.
you have to walk past it and then turn around real quick and see if it moved.
No, because anything I do, you'd be like, "Oh, you didn't move fast
You might
enough. You were not. You didn't have enough
You
surface
should
area.
you should match the conditions
You
of
want
the
your camera's out
the
of focus.
astronaut. So you got to try and move it about as close as the astronaut was to it, and you got to move as fast as the astronaut.
Yeah, I will record this, and you guys will come back with your cameras not level. It's out of focus.
No, that wouldn't be
all
the case.
kinds of crazy.
No,
Keep
we'll
on
just
like
say
this.
it's
Be able to, like,
CGI.
walk past it, turn really quickly, pole dance. Make sure like
Do exactly what the astronaut does.
Was that you, Percentage, that said that?
It would be
Alright,
it would be better if you could extend the flag, but that's hard to do. But I think you should get motion from it just by walking by it.
Actually, Safira made a good comment. We need a camera watching Jeremy film himself. So we need a double
do need a
camera
double
setting.
Camera.
If you don't have a camera filming the camera that's filming the event, then it doesn't even count. I don't think at this point.
Yeah, but we also need the camera filming you pushing the record button while the other camera's recording you
So you
doing
took
the
it.
thing.
You took it too far, Davros.
Well,
No,
the
we can
camera
go
frame-
even further.
How do we know that he didn't encase it in epoxy?
Yeah, how do we
right?
know he wasn't using a Hasselblad?
Because we've all seen the feather and the hammer fall at the same time in that kid's bedroom. You know, you could fake anything.
Yeah.
So
Jeremy, we know there's a lot
Hold
of
on.
fakery that goes on in your bedroom,
Jem
so that's
spent 9 hours debunking a
Okay, it's
funny
not
flip
9
that thing
hours. It's
happened on
1
the way
hour
to the moon.
36 minutes.
No, I
It
was talking
feels
about
like
the amount of
9
work
hours.
you put
I want
into
to say
it. Yeah.
9 hours or
It
Jem.
feels like 9
No,
hours.
I was
more.
talking about the amount of work he put
It
in.
was a lot more than 9 hours.
Oh, see, now you're saying more. Jeez, what's your name?
So how many
Of course
hours
it
was it? 100
You
hours?
know how when you're at work,
Probably about maybe even more than that. I didn't work it out, but a long
109
time.
hours.
It took me 4 months to make, and I was working on it in most of my spare time.
4 months. I thought it was an easy thing to debunk. It was so
It
stupidity.
takes a lot
Well,
of details.
It
He
was
went
an
in
easy thing to
researched it.
debunk. One of the first videos I made was a debunk of it. And what I did was I debunked the so-called smoking gun footage, which is the big deal about a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. And that video, I put it up. It wasn't a great video, but it did get some views. And what I found was that hoaxers like yourself would come along and they would say, "Oh, well, that I'm not bothered about that. The thing that did it for me in a funny thing happened on the way to the moon was this other thing. It was the blue window, or the astronaut's arm in front of the camera, or it was what Armstrong said. It was whatever I'd done. They'd all got something else that was their thing. So I thought, in response to that, I thought the best thing to do is I'm going to make a new video, and this time I'm going to address every single claim that is made in a funny thing happened on the way to the moon. And then no one can come along and say, you didn't debunk it because you didn't talk about such and such, because I talked about absolutely everything that's in it. And what did I find? People come along and they say, you didn't debunk it because you didn't mention this thing that isn't in a funny thing happened on the way to the moon at all. In your debunk of a funny thing happened on the way to the moon.
It could be this. It could be a false
True
flag too, though. It could be that same shit, Jem, where the corruptors put out a funny thing in the way to the moon. So when you easily debunk that, they look clean and squeaky.
Yeah, you know what
I mean? It always.
You know what they did to
Came
that guy?
from the guy who got punched by Aldrin.
You know what they did to that guy? They accidentally sent him footage of them faking how far away they were from Earth. But the thing is, when they did it, they were in low Earth orbit, which now they makes you think orbits are real.
Hang on, you're saying that the guy
were
that got
virgin
punched
there,
by
look at-
Aldrin, who made that video, is a false flagger?
Yeah, I mean
Possibly, it wouldn't.
that's actually a good point. You
It
make
was
there, Jamie.
staged, yeah.
I mean,
It's
Whammer,
staged.
how do
You're
you
right,
feel
but it
about
could
that?
be, right? Like, let's man up and admit it.
How do you feel about that, Whammer? Though you suggested this video, and yet this video proposes that the footage was fake from low Earth orbit, which you don't believe is possible. I assume. So
That's what I'm
We
saying.
do.
So how do you deal with that?
That's
Low
what
Earth
I'm saying.
orbit?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why that's why NASA sent that guy the video. They didn't accidentally send him video of them faking how
let
far
Whammer
away they
answer
were from
though,
Earth.
Jeremy, please.
What'd you say?
But Jem, how do I feel about that?
What'd you say, Jem? I didn't hear you.
I don't
Hold
know.
on. Jem
but
asked me
I
something.
do
I
have a
didn't
question.
hear
You
you.
don't find
you're
anything
recommending a
in there?
video that you must fundamentally disagree with its main claim, right? That the footage was fake from low Earth orbit.
Yeah, but I'm explaining it though.
Go ahead,
I'm explaining
Jeremy,
why
sorry.
NASA sent them that video so they could keep the space dream alive and get. They don't
Hang
care.
on.
They're like, oh, whatever. People might
It's a
think we
lovely
fake.
story, Jeremy, but
Well, I know.
it is just a story that you're
I
just making
don't.
up.
Yeah, I don't think NASA sent Bart Sibrel that video so he could say they didn't go to the moon.
They
But
sent him
tell me
that
something.
video.
We're just telling
They
the
sent him
stories
that
now.
video to prove. They sent him that video to prove space is real, and
But Jem,
orbits are a real thing.
Well, he wasn't.
That's
he
why
didn't
they
think
sent him
were.
that.
let me ask you something really quick.
Yeah.
Jem, do you find all flat Earth arguments laughable, or do you find at least anything curious in all these different claims that are being made? Any claim?
Not
do you find
really.
any of them
They're all
curious,
pretty
or they're just all
laughable.
laughable?
They're all
Jem
pretty
loves
I mean,
flat Earth.
some things obviously they need explaining. I don't always have an answer to everything, but on hand. So some things require a puzzle to be solved. But ultimately, yes. I mean, the Earth isn't flat, dude, and thinking that it is pretty absurd.
Best thing
Yeah,
I've
with-
heard in the last 18 months is about
No.
atmospheric turbidity, otherwise known as fucking smog.
I got out of a radar argument using atmospheric turbidity the other day with the radar guy.
Did you say it
Said
was too
that's the
smoggy?
objective to get out of the argument.
Shouts out to chemo.
So
Yeah,
you use the
well,
logical fallacy.
I've seen him for ages.
He keeps hiding in chat, but not in voice chat.
But Jem, why would you even feel the need to debunk or try to debunk a funny thing happened on the way to the moon?
Well, because I think if you want to believe that the moon landings are fake, I think that's fine. If you want to believe that, you can believe that. But I would think that if you hold that belief, you would want to hold it for some sort of valid reason, and this isn't a valid reason. And
You know why?
I went for this because it's the go-to favorite for all flat earthers and a lot of Apollo hoaxers. It's the go-to thing for people who haven't really looked into it very much.
Okay.
You know why he debunked it? Because they're Star Trek nerds and they desperately need the space thing to be real.
I had it
Spent
thrown
a
at me
lot of
many
time.
times, and the first time I saw it, I thought, "Oh my god, what is happening here?" But then when I looked into it, I found out what was happening. I found out what was true and what was false, and there's a lot of stuff that's false. And I found out what there is more of than anything else, which is just half truths. They're just not telling the full story, and then they're adding their own narrative, and by doing that, they create a whole new story from.
But then tell me this one thing really quick. I didn't watch your video, the debunk, but this is one of the points they brought up, and it was that I forget which astronaut was like talking, or he was still on the land, on Earth, and he was supposed to have already been in space at that point in time. You know which claim they made? You remember that one?
I think what you're saying is at one point when they're talking, you hear this voice in the background saying "talk" or something like that. Is what is claimed to have been said? Is that what you mean?
No. I think it was Neil or one of the guys was still on Earth, and he was supposed to be in space at that point in time. Why wasn't he? It was something like that. I forget exactly, but
I think you need to really know what it is.
let me look at it.
I think it's what I'm talking about that you
wouldn't know this claim. This is a pretty big claim they made.
Well, like
know
I
what
said,
you're
I addressed every single claim in that movie, so I
What
will
about
know it.
what about when the guy said talk?
Yeah, that wasn't in the movie. The talk thing was, but the Neil Armstrong on Earth wasn't in the movie.
Right.
Not that I
When the guy said talk, I mean, it's some stray radio traffic from somewhere. We just don't know
Oh,
where.
they're
But
picking
Or
up.
it could be a.
hold
It could
on.
be the. Go ahead.
But throughout the Apollo missions, you get these odd little bits of radio traffic. You just do.
Na-
I don't see what's
NASA
wrong with it being
hold
a
on,
mission
Don.
director either.
NASA
I mean, seriously,
communications
though.
are getting Don. NASA communications are catching interference with
Right.
stray radio signals and shit.
Jeremy, you do
That's
realise
unbelievable.
that thousands,
One possible answer.
Yes,
thousands
that's
of ham radio operators tracked that mission. You realise that, right?
It also
And
was
it just so happened to be quiet at that. This is too much of a coincidence.
there
Well,
was also an
the other
analog
thing is-
signal which is easily interfered with.
The
Too
other
much
thing
of a
is you
coincidence.
can't hear, you can't actually hear the word talk. You don't. It's not clear what's being said, or even if it's a human voice. Some people say it's not a human voice. I think it probably is a human voice, but it's really not clear what's being said. And I think that what the idea of this is the story that they tell in A Funny Thing, is that the director of this was for some reason was given the ability to be able to talk onto the soundtrack of the thing that they were making. I mean, why you would have him have that ability in the first place is ridiculous. But apparently, because there was a couple of seconds of silence, he just had to stop that from happening, and so spoke so that they would talk and fill in these seconds of silence. Well,
Yeah.
if you listen to and look at the transcripts from the missions, you'll see there's loads of bits where there's huge gaps of silence. Sometimes one of them will ask a question, and 10 minutes later there'll be a response. I mean, the idea that he just had to speak to stop the silence from happening is absurd beyond belief. I mean,
Well,
it's
what about the uninterrupted talking between the president and the astronauts?
Well, during when Nixon's speaking, there is only one interaction between him and Armstrong, and there is a 6.5 second delay between him finishing speaking and Armstrong starting to speak.
Oh, that's not instant.
And that lines up with it coming to Honeysuckle Creek and then getting fed back to the US.
If you can't trust Nixon, who can you trust, right, guys?
That, by the way, Jeremy, that reminds me of that stupid claim of how did they call Apollo on the telephone? Like,
Right.
what, they have a telephone to call Apollo?
No.
That's one of my favorite of the idiotic, absolutely idiotic.
Why did they say that?
I know.
That's how you used to talk from a boat on VHF. You would call up the marine operator.
Yes.
I just
the
want
marine
to
operator would patch you through to the telephone company.
But wait, you guys are calling it stupid, and he spent over 100 hours of his life debunking it.
Yes.
I mean, I just don't get why you'd call it
Because it's
stupid.
his hobby.
I didn't. Yeah, it is my hobby, and I didn't spend 100 hours debunking the claim of,
A phone call.
how did Nixon call him on a landline?
No, it's mixing my words. I said you spent 100 hours. What we already agreed you said was debunking the, on the way to the moon.
Right.
How long
Funny
do
thing
you think
happened.
it takes to make that sort of a video?
I'm just saying, why would you ever spend 100 hours of your life
it was
debunking something so
an
stupid?
astounding, amazing achievement. I think it was a really, really cool thing to do, and I think that some people have seen this video and they find it compelling, and I can understand why they do, and that means that then it takes away from them something really cool.
How many hours have you spent fighting the Glober?
And by pointing out to them where this video is a pack of lies, which it is, and I would have thought as a truth seeker, you would want packs of lies to be exposed, but clearly you don't. But by doing that, I give that back to them, don't I? I put something cool back in their world. So
Only
I think
I could take your word at it, Jim.
I
How
think
many-
that's
Jim,
you don't
an
have to
admirable
pretend
thing
Yeah,
to
let's
do.
not forget
man.
also
It
that
speaks for itself, bro.
many
Don't have to
people out
pretend
there
to
think
work.
the moon is a hoax. I mean, it's a much bigger subset of the population than the handful of people that believe the
You are
Earth is
Right.
flat.
100%
It's a
incorrect.
way bigger conspiracy, and the fact that Jeremy likes to debunk stuff like that. I mean, there's people that like to build ships out of toothpicks in a fucking bottle that takes them fucking years to do, right? Like,
Right.
this is
Version.
definitely a more worthy cause than fucking that.
How many hours
So
did
it's
you
not
spend?
stupid.
How many hours did you?
I get to put something out there that's lasting and that you know.
Oh,
people
the
think
next
is
time
coming
You
I
know,
hear
it
you
would
guys
be-
calling flat earthers stupid, I'm going to call you out on it.
How
Actually,
many hours have
Well, I
you
think-
spent derping about the flat Earth?
If
Hang
you
on.
You
can't-
gotta
if
stop.
you can't figure out how Nixon spoke to Armstrong on the moon, if you can't work that out just from without any checking up of anything, just by using your own knowledge of the world, if you can't figure that out, then you are stupid by any
Oh,
metric.
okay.
I feel.
Flat earthers have selective critical thinking.
yeah, but
Okay.
there's something else that you guys have forgotten. You guys think that Jem having that as his hobby. There's people that cut their lawn with fucking scissors.
We're not talking about those people.
Wait till you see my new project.
We're not talking about every fucking asshole in the world. We're just talking about Jem and you guys.
Yeah, he's cutting a hedge with a pair of nail
And
clippers.
there's people that
Wow.
cut hair with their feet. So what?
Yeah, well, again, why do you care
exactly.
what Jim does in his own time? I mean, it's
You know
his
exactly
time.
about it.
All right,
That's what I
think that
mean.
my question was valid with this line of questioning. How many hours have you spent derping about the flat Earth?
Right.
Yeah, if you guys
Sorry,
wanna
how
waste
many
your
hours have I spent?
years,
Derping about
decades
the flat Earth,
doing
yes.
Flat Earth. I mean, all we're gonna do is ridicule and laugh at you and tell you you're wrong, but you can still do it.
Yeah.
I honestly don't even know the number.
Is it a big number? Is it bigger than 100?
100 hours of looking into the flat Earth?
No, of derping about
Perhaps.
it on the internet.
Perhaps. A vague estimate. I didn't write it down.
Actually,
You care about truth, though, Whammer, right?
Of course.
I'm not saying believe the Apollo moon landings happened. I'm saying don't disbelieve them because this silly Bart Sibrel told you a pack of lies. And I think you should want that as much as anybody.
Of course. If that were the case, then absolutely.
So,
There you go.
and that does bring up the point of why do you believe one guy's video, one person's opinion on it, versus the preponderance of evidence that says that's not how it is? Why do you put so much weight on this one random guy with his own random opinion with no basis
Easy
whatsoever
straw
for him saying it other
Are
than
you
that he's
talking about a funny thing?
anyone, flat Earth in general? Pick your.
Well, then they're not just one guy.
Nid, this is called cognitive bias.
I'm just saying, what he's saying is not necessarily the case. There's not just one guy.
The other thing that's annoyingly stupid is always the claim of look at these pictures of this paper mache crack house that they built, and they want us to think it went to the moon, right? Like, look
Right.
at it, it's just covered in foil, right? But it's like,
Yeah.
look,
Homeless tweaker.
Well,
Hold on,
I mean, hold on.
The
It's
McLaren
a-
You're
F1,
you're
homeless
leaving out
tweaker.
variables.
Don't interrupt me, okay? The McLaren F1, which is like pretty much universally seen as like the ultimate supercar ever made, it's worth like $20 million now. The engine bay is lined in gold foil because it's an excellent heat reflector, like the best heat reflector, right?
The one they built
$20
in the
million
60s, right?
supercar.
The
The
McLaren
one that
F1.
they, it'd
That
be
was
too
made
hard
in
to
the
build now, right?
mid-90s. In the mid-90s, that was made. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's nice,
you can
isn't it?
find pictures. without
I thought we were talking about the moon landing.
Hold on. You can find pictures. You can find pictures of the LEM without the shielding on it, where you can see all the complicated and intricate plumbing and wiring and everything. And if they wanted, and
Phil
we're
just
talking about,
posted
okay, it's
that.
a hoax, so they're building a prop. They're just building a prop. They could make that prop as big and as fancy and amazing. They could just make it super shiny and futuristic looking, and put all these bullshit pipes all over it, and make it just look like like they do in the movies. And also, the
That's
claim,
what
they
did
didn't make the
in
door
the
big
moon
enough. They made the
landings.
door.
Look at those things. The
Well,
rover? Are you kidding me?
But that's his point. They didn't do that, did they? It's not all shiny and beautiful.
Well,
It's
Minimalist.
It's minimalist. Yeah, it's a thing wrapped in gold foil with, what looks like paper stuck to it.
Actually, Jem,
Hold
this
on.
is something that I think we're about to hear. I wonder if these guys realize when the rover was put up there, because I don't think they had one on Apollo
Focus
11,
on
did
one
they?
thing at a time.
Not till 15.
There you
Sophia
go.
Rover.
So that's the thing. They try and group it all together, yet it happened over 6
Wait,
fucking
hold on.
missions.
Are we talking about the moon landings? What are you talking about?
He's talking
Oh
about
my
the lunar
God.
rover. You know, the buggy thing they took with them.
Yeah, what year was that?
Apollo 15 was
71?
1971, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody said the 90s?
He was
No,
talking
that's
about the F1,
McLaren.
the McLaren F1 supercar.
Well, let's just stick to the moon landings, okay?
Well, he
Well,
was
no, he
just
was
using
describing.
that as an
God.
hang on, he was using that as an example of how Mylar can be used as
It's a
heat
bad
reflector.
example.
Well,
I
that's
just
not
looked
what
at the
we were talking about. We were talking about the moon landings and these some of the crafts that went up there that don't exactly look too shabby.
And that's
Do you know how to follow a
specifically what he was
conversation?
addressing, what the
Okay,
shabbiness
fair enough.
is for.
Does that engine bay look flimsy?
Hold
It's
on.
for
you
a heat
posted it?
shield. Oh my God. It's for a
That
heat
doesn't
shield.
look like
And now
eighth
you use
grade
it for fucking party
project.
balloons.
That doesn't look like an 8th grade paper mache project, bro.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
It's
I
not
just
paper
must
mache.
say, oh my god!
That's kind of silly, really. Yeah.
The Moonlander doesn't
So,
look
what
like
do
a
you
paper
think
mache
to
product. either.
what do you think to what Phil posted percentage?
I mean, if you look at the lunar land, my bad, John. Go ahead.
Yeah, the one at 9.
Here's the buggy.
What do you think to that? Does that still look like a
That
paper
little
mache
buggy?
project?
Are you talking over Jem for a reason?
Oh, he's done it. He's posted it again. That one, yeah.
What Turman? What he posted?
No, what Phil KO posted.
Phil KO. Yeah, it looks a little bit more stable than the
Yeah,
aluminum foil.
they
That's
covered
the
it
same
with
one,
Mylar.
dude. It's the same one. You understand that?
All
Do you
they did was
understand?
cover it with a heat shield.
Is
That's it.
Is he quiet for you? He's incredibly quiet for me.
Be quiet.
Yeah.
So they built this prop, and inside they covered it on the outside with flimsy panels. Why did they build this elaborate interior that they never show on film? I mean, it seems a little strange to me. It's a very complicated set when they're not going to show any of these neat tanks and shit.
Ooh.
And it gets even deeper than that, though. I forget. Oh well, I'd have to find it.
Hang on. Who's posting this must see video? What's this? Ah, yeah.
I haven't had any
That's
dinner. I need
that's
dinner.
Determined.
yeah, hang on. Sorry, that's the image that I think it's Lemon uses and misrepresents it. That why do things disappear bottom up?
That is Lemon.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the one that he uses and misrepresents. He doesn't understand how that works.
Of course, he
No, I mean,
we've heard him
it
say it
really
1,000
really is
times.
Lemon.
So moon landings happened then, didn't they? We're happy with
Yeah,
that now.
good job.
Yes.
So what are you having for dinner, Jem?
I don't know.
I'm thinking about breakfast because it's 7:30 in the morning here.
What about pie?
Pie is good. I could still do pie.
American
Oh,
bacon.
I've actually got a
thinking
pumpkin
more-
quiche.
I'm thinking more kebab.
Ooh. Oh, that gives me an idea for dinner tonight.
Bacon.
You could
Yeah,
get it
bacon
delivered.
kebab.
You could get it delivered.
By the way, that picture had already had some panels on it. Here's a real interior shot.
Right.
Yeah,
A
no
lot of money
shit.
on this prop that you never get to see of. Sure is a pretty intricate prop for something that they're just going to cover with paper mache for no good reason.
Yeah, and they're gonna throw it out in the Mojave Desert and have O.J. Simpson run away from it.
Yeah.
Everyone remembers Capricorn 1?
Yeah.
Which is funny because that was actually supposed to be a mission to Mars.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
That's what I find funny. They pick out these Hollywood movies that were made after the Apollo missions and go, oh look, this is what actually happened. And then you read the synopsis of the movie. Oh, a mission to Mars that failed, and then they realised it was wrong, and they got chased by the CIA.
Why didn't they put big girders on this? Make it really strong if it was going to go into space and travel at fantastic speeds.
Well, what's resisting it out there?
It should have giant, massive I-beams.
And why haven't we gone back to the moon?
We lost the will to do so. There was
Oh,
no imperative.
okay.
Yeah. Also, there was a couple of
Righto, cheerio.
Well,
yeah. There was
well,
also a couple
well-
of shuttle missions that sort of had a problem.
It's well documented why you haven't been
Sure
back
it
to
is, Jim, and you just believe that?
And why
Well,
would we have gone back? Right now, there's an imperative because China's going, so America's got to go and flex their muscles again.
Oh, America stopped going to Vietnam.
Right.
a lot.
What we know is that after Apollo 11, which I think we could all assume would be the high point in public opinion for the Apollo program, when they just landed on the moon, it only had like a 53% approval rating with the American public. People just didn't believe it was a good way to spend their tax dollars. And
they were right.
Now you understand.
Damn right, it's a
why.
waste of money.
So now you know.
You should have a good understanding of why you haven't been back there.
Which is why they spent all the money into the shuttle program, which the idea was to make a cheap, reusable vehicle that could be refueled.
Right.
Space truck, as it were.
But the performance characteristics of that.
The plan that was made in 1970, which was like a sort of a committee commissioned by Nixon, that plan said space shuttle, space station, and robotic missions to the other planets of the solar system. And that's what we've seen happen since 1970.
Nixon, the most honest president that's ever been president.
Well, he
you get it for big cost.
He commissioned the report, but he didn't write it himself.
Are you sure?
People did.
He asked people.
They laid out a long-term plan for NASA, and that's essentially what NASA did and have done.
But Jem, did you notice that? Just because it was Nixon, the most honest president, it's like, so what?
I'm just adding to the fucking.
Like I say,
just adding to it. I mean,
take
it easy, big guy.
He just recognised that this was, it needed addressing. That it was a big, massive expenditure that he'd rather do without.
But am I like making a misstatement?
Yeah, but hang on, I've got a follow up here, Whammer.
Dishonest.
Follow up here.
He's dishonest, but I don't.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, this plan was published in 1970. Anyone can go and read the original. It was talked about in the press at the time, so you know that this thing happened, and the history of things that have happened since then. So it's really irrelevant how dishonest Nixon was, in relation to this. What the documents are there, and the history's there that support the documents. So
also the fact that it was Kennedy's the one who kicked off the space race for the US. He said by the end of the decade we shall put a man on the moon, right? Or whatever he said. But then he got shot, but America kept going.
That's another one.
Wait,
got shot.
You think because he got assassinated that we would just stop?
No, but that's the line of logic that I'm hearing from Whammer.
What line of logic?
Hang on, I wasn't finished.
You should be because it's
said,
bollocks.
Hang on. How do you know it's bollocks? I haven't finished yet. Because you turned around and said the dishonest president got people to do the stuff that that the US did over the next 50 years. That means it's all a lie.
Didn't say that.
What did you say?
Wrong.
Again, y'all would have to think that the KGB would let the U.S. do that. which is just
Are you kidding?
insane. No,
Yeah.
I'm not kidding.
I know you're not, clearly. However, I'm pretty sure it's a Russian agency that actually just released that the moon is now in Earth's atmosphere. Just saying.
And so saying what?
Just
And
what?
What are you saying?
What are you
They
just
changed the
saying?
definition of
Faked it.
atmosphere.
Hang on, you're talking about something that came out last year, and it's now October.
that's right.
But you said just now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to make the
And
connection here.
trying
What
to-
the fuck?
I
Yeah.
know it's hard to make some
No.
connections. I know.
Yeah, that aren't there that you need to
Oh,
be paranoid,
right.
delusional to make. Yes, I
Sure
can
thing,
make
buddy.
Well, lead us
That's
down the
more than
rabbit
right.
hole then.
that. Yeah,
No, I
okay,
think
buddy.
that
Making a great
suffices.
Come on,
argument,
explain
buddy.
your retarded idea.
Negative, not to a retarded man.
Well, okay, explain it to us retarded men then.
Well, it's like you said, it's so retarded. What's the point in explaining it?
Not everybody. I don't speak
You've
for
already
here.
deemed it retarded, so
I don't speak
there's
for
no
everybody
point.
here.
Really?
Yeah,
This
it
is
will be retarded.
If you deem
Okay,
it retarded, then
apparently
there's no
I
point
do
to talk
speak for
about it.
everybody here.
All I know is the Earth is now in Moon's atmosphere, and that's a
And
new
how does that
finding.
change
Sure
anything?
it
How
is.
does that change anything?
They can't get back to the Moon, of course not.
Wait, stop for a second. How does that change
What does
anything?
that say other than the title of the article that you were cited that you obviously haven't read? What does it
Oh, I
actually
obviously haven't read.
No,
Are you sure
Mike,
about that?
No, I'm asking you a question.
No,
How
you're
does
not. So please,
I
keep
asked
it
something
down.
separate. I asked something before this other guy did. Now,
Yeah, no,
I'm asking
a
what
condescending idiot.
changed? What is
Hold
so
on one second.
impressive about some sparse gases over by the moon? How does that change anything?
Sparse gases.
Yes.
Actually, only
Like
one.
I said, you haven't read the actual article.
Yeah,
You're trying to
I heard that parroted already. You don't need to
Yeah,
keep cheerleading that
So
statement.
what was the chemical makeup of the atmosphere around the moon that was coming from Earth?
I don't know. You tell me.
But you're the one with the claim.
No,
You
that's
know.
just what I read.
What did you read?
Creepy.
You didn't read it then.
I
No,
read
you
that
didn't read it. You've been
the
told that
moon
there's
is now in
article that
Earth's
states this.
atmosphere.
You haven't
Title.
actually.
How hard is that to understand?
Title.
Don't put words in my mouth.
Title. Cool.
Don't
I don't
put
think
words
you
in
know.
my mouth.
I don't think you even know what the words are that are coming out of your
Genius, Don't
mouth.
put words in my mouth, my friend.
I'm
Did
not
you-
your friend.
Did you read more?
Clearly.
Are you guys disputing that the moon's in the Earth's atmosphere?
No,
All right.
no,
Okay.
no. We're disputing that
No,
his
it's-
claim is
Oh,
fallacious in
okay.
what he said.
It's highly debatable on how you would call that an atmosphere.
My
Most
personal
would not
opinion is
consider that an
I don't call that
atmosphere.
I like the
How
definition
is
of
it not an
atmosphere.
atmosphere, bro?
Fly an airplane.
How is it not an atmosphere?
No, it's particles
Yeah,
from
a
the
stray
atmosphere.
particle stripped off by the solar wind that's hitting
Yeah.
the moon. That is not an atmosphere.
Particles, stray particles from where?
From Earth's atmosphere that have been stripped
Okay.
off by the solar wind and sent to the moon.
Remember, Jake, we have to be
That sounds
completely
insane.
specific about every single point we make these days, because if we don't, they don't understand.
Hold up. Do you have evidence that the molecules are only from solar winds stripping them from Earth?
Do we
How else did
care?
they get there?
That's
How
what
is
Shane
this
is saying.
relevant to anything?
He
Who
said
cares?
that the the gases are due to solar winds stripping them from Earth. That's the
Okay.
only reason.
That's stated, I'm
So
pretty
what?
sure.
Who cares? Who cares?
Because it doesn't
What?
seem like that in terms of the articles. They talk about the corona. It doesn't talk about how it's only the solar winds or something like that. It talks about how it's just like the outermost layer of gases when they're sparse.
How did they get that far, and why are they still in the gravitational influence of the Earth?
But that's besides the point. He just made a claim.
No,
that
that's
it's
the
only
point.
solar
The whole
winds. So we're just gonna hand wave that.
how do those molecules get the
How have we got
energy
into this?
to
Why is
go
it
far
relevant?
away?
What's it relevant to?
He just claimed that it wasn't the Earth's atmosphere; it was solar winds stripping it from Earth.
Right. Okay. Well, if you don't want to believe
very
it, don't
relevant.
believe it. But it's not relevant to anything we're
It's
talking about. Really.
conveniently not relevant when he says something wrong, right?
say they're wrong.
But
All right, let's
if a
talk
flat
about
earther
it. Let's
if a
talk
flat
about
earther
this
says something
completely
wrong, they're gonna
irrelevant point
jump on it.
that has no bearing on whether the moon landings happened and no bearing on the shape of the Earth. But let's go ahead and discuss it at length.
The topic of conversation changed to the moon being in Earth's atmosphere.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
You mean this will help your 100 hours of debunkment?
10,000 hours of dirt.
No, it won't. It just drags it into some silly corner where we're trying to prove
As
some
silly as the claim
irrelevant.
to begin
We're
with.
trying to prove some irrelevant point to percentage for no apparent reason whatsoever. You know, but that's how it's
Incorrect
got to
point that he
be,
made,
hasn't
that's all
it?
I'm saying.
They released the statement, not me.
It's quibbling over a word.
Why would they release a statement like that if it directly
My point is,
contradicted the
percentage,
heliocentric
just
model?
go ahead. Just go ahead and disbelieve it. It doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't. Who cares?
Well, we arrived here,
It's
so
relevant to the argument.
Yeah, it's the
doesn't make any difference.
it's the geocorona, which they're saying a specific wavelength of ultraviolet light from the sun excites the hydrogen molecules from the surface or from the atmosphere, upper atmosphere of the Earth, which extends the geocorona all the way out to the moon on the night side of the Earth.
Yeah, are those solar winds, bro?
No, in that case, that's not solar wind, but it's still the sun. Still related to the sun.
So we're done with this topic, right? Like that's it. That's the
But I mean,
explanation.
I don't see what this is relevant to. I mean, we're
Well,
talking about a ridiculously sparse density of molecules.
It's because percentage hadn't had anybody trying to prove things to him for a little while, so he'd been missing it, I think, and
No,
needed
it's
to have
because
So we get the atmosphere
Weimer
out to the moon.
Weimer
How
said
does that
something. You
change
had an
moon
article
missions?
saying it's the moon is in the Earth's atmosphere. You guys got into like a
Yeah, it's not the atmosphere
and
really.
then
It's the
someone made an incorrect
geocorona.
claim. Hold up, and someone made a false claim, and I called them out on it. If you guys don't like it when people call out incorrect things, then that's a problem.
Why
because
don't you
should
write a
strive to be
paper
corrected when you're wrong.
to the people that submitted that and let them know that their terminology is wrong? Because when they
didn't
say
use the word
atmosphere,
solar
you
wind in
suddenly
that.
think that the moon is somehow encroached into the Earth's atmosphere that we breathe in. And instead, what they meant to say was the geocorona, and that they need to be more specific, or they confuse addle-brained flat earthers like yourself.
No, I think your comprehension.
All right. If
has an
this
issue.
cunt's going to
You
go
have
on like
talking for
this,
the
I'm going to
other
have
two.
to interrupt. Did you read the fucking articles?
Curved. I'm talking.
Yeah,
Do you
but
know what was
the
said and what was not said to
the
be
reason-
making such proclamations about what they should have said?
Who's they? It was one of you all that's.
Yeah. By the way, the
The
reason why I
writers.
conflated the two.
The writers of the fuck. I don't care what
I'm not
anybody in here
disputing the
fucking
article,
said.
bro. Learn.
Did you
guys
read the
suck
fucking
at
article?
comprehending English.
Did
That's
you
the
read
truth.
anything about the articles?
Just the English comprehension here is just a miss.
You know what?
But hold
I've got
on a
volume comprehension
The only
problems with
person-
you
listen,
because you
the
can't
only
get a
person-
goddamn mic that works.
The only,
And that's a good thing, percentage. Go fuck off. Now you,
the
you
only
fucking
person that
twat
I called out was the person that said it was solar wind.
Learn to think before you speak, Whammer. Good
So
day.
the reason why I conflated those two, by the way, percent, is there was another article talking about rust found on the moon. And because there's no free oxygen on the moon, they were trying to figure out how did that rust get on the moon? How was there rust occurring on the moon? And that's where they talked about the solar wind stripping off the oxygen off the upper atmosphere of the Earth. And over eons of time, that oxygen was interacting with the iron on the moon and creating rust.
Okay, in that case, I understand why you
Right.
conflate the two, and it's no problem, bro. I don't know why people are getting mad.
They're just mad because the Earth is flat.
I assure you, Lemon, no one is losing any sleep over you thinking the Earth is flat.
Say the word.
Have to give it my
say the word
sci-fi and
solar
Star Trek.
They just talk about how the sun compresses the atoms and send on the light side and blows them off to the dark side.